The rain had finally stopped, leaving the air cool and crisp around the Everhart estate. Michael and Claire had driven out for what they thought would be a quiet weekend of sorting through boxes and dusting forgotten shelves. The old family home had been in Michael's family for generations, though no one had lived there since his grandmother passed away. To Michael, the creaking floors and fading wallpaper felt like a burden of history, but to Claire, it felt like stepping into a living story. "Michael," Claire said, brushing her fingers over the ornate wood of an old desk in the study. "Look at this craftsmanship. This thing has to be 100 years old." Michael smirked. "It's probably just a termite buffet now. My grandmother kept everything, you know? Half of this house is clutter." Claire tugged at one of the drawers, but it didn't budge. She frowned, then pressed a hidden latch near the side. With a click, the drawer slid open, revealing a narrow compartment lined with velvet. Inside lay an envelope, yellowed with age, sealed with wax that had cracked but not broken. "Michael," she whispered, her eyes wide. This looks important." Michael leaned closer. The handwriting on the front was faded but still legible. "To Eleanor Everhart, with truth that cannot remain hidden." "That's my grandmother's name," Michael said softly. "But this letter, I've never seen it before." Claire turned the envelope over. "Should we open it?" Michael hesitated, then nodded. "If it's been waiting this long, I think it's time." The seal broke with a dry snap, and inside was a folded sheet of parchment. Michael unfolded it carefully, his hands trembling slightly. As he read, his brow furrowed, then his eyes widened. "It's from someone named Samuel," he said. "He writes that Eleanor had a brother, James, who disappeared when he was young. The family never spoke of him again. But Samuel claims James didn't vanish. He left something behind, something hidden." Claire leaned closer, her hand brushing Michael's. "A lost brother? Your grandmother never mentioned this." "Not once," Michael muttered. "And she told me everything. Or at least I thought she did." The letter hinted at a secret meeting place, a cabin near the edge of a valley, and warned that the truth had been buried for decades. But what caught Michael's attention most was the final line. "If you are reading this, it means the time has come. The legacy must not be forgotten." Michael sat back, staring at the faded ink. "Why will my grandmother keep this hidden?" Claire's eyes gleamed. Maybe she never saw it. Maybe it was lost in that drawer all these years. Michael nodded slowly. "If this is true, then I have family I never knew existed. Or at least, I have the pieces of their story." Claire smiled faintly. "Then we have to find that cabin." The next morning, with the letter folded carefully in Michael's jacket, they set out toward the valley mentioned in the note. The road was narrow, lined with towering pines that whispered in the wind. Michael drove in silence, his mind racing. "What are you thinking?" Claire asked, breaking the quiet. "That my family erased someone. My grandmother never talked about James. It's like he was a ghost. And now I'm supposed to pick up where she left off." Claire reached over, squeezing his hand. "Then maybe it's up to you to give him back his voice." They parked near an overgrown trail and began walking. The forest was damp, the ground soft beneath their boots. Birds called overhead, and the scent of pine filled the air. After nearly an hour, they came to a clearing where the ruins of a cabin stood, half hidden by vines and thyme. "There," Claire said, pointing. The cabin's roof sagged, and its windows were shattered, but the walls still stood. Michael pushed the door open, and it groaned in protest. Inside, dust floated in beams of sunlight. Furniture lay broken, but in one corner, a trunk sat covered in cobwebs. Michael knelt, brushing the dust away. "Help me open this." Together, they pried it open. Inside were old clothes, brittle with age, and a bundle of letters tied with string. Michael picked one up and read aloud. "To whoever finds this, I am James Everhart. They wanted to forget me, but I will not be erased. What I leave here is not wealth, but truth. Our family story is more complicated than you know." Michael's throat tightened. He was real. He was here. Claire touched the bundle. "And he wanted someone to know." As they sifted through the letters, they found references to a disagreement within the family, secrets of land ownership, and a promise broken. One letter hinted at a deed hidden beneath the floorboards of the cabin. Michael pried at the boards until one gave way. Beneath it was a tin box, rusted but intact. Inside lay a folded piece of paper, remarkably well preserved. A deed to a stretch of land near the valley, signed in James Everhart's name. This is Michael's voice cracked. This is proof. He owned land. He wasn't just erased, he was cut out. Claire leaned closer, her eyes shining. Then the question is why? As they read further, the letters revealed that James had fallen in love with someone the family disapproved of. To protect his love, he had left the estate, carving out a life of his own. But his departure was rewritten as disappearance, his memory scrubbed from the family's history. Michael sat back heavily. So they buried him, not because he vanished, but because he defied them. Claire whispered, and now you're the one bringing him back. The sun dipped lower as they left the cabin, carrying the letters and the deed. Back at the estate, Michael spread the documents across the study desk, the same one that had hidden the first letter. This changes everything, he said. James was meant to be forgotten, but now he'll be remembered. Claire smiled gently. And maybe, Michael, this isn't just about remembering him. Maybe it's about understanding your grandmother, too. Maybe she kept that letter because part of her wanted someone, someday, to discover the truth. Michael nodded slowly. Maybe. Either way, the story doesn't end here. The sun had vanished completely behind the rolling hills as Michael and Claire returned to the Everhart estate. Shadows stretched across the lawn, the trees swaying as if whispering secrets long held. Claire clutched the leather-bound journal against her chest, her eyes bright with anticipation. We need to figure out what he meant by midnight light, she said, pacing the study. Michael leaned back in the chair, spinning slowly. Midnight light? It has to be literal, right? Maybe the moon, or some reflection. I don't know, but it feels like a clue for a location, not just a time. Claire's lips pressed together. Or maybe it's symbolic. James loved riddles. Remember the way he wrote in the journal? Everything had layers. Michael stood, running his hand through his hair. Layers or not, I'm not waiting any longer. Tomorrow night, we follow the stream. The next day dragged slowly, filled with packing and research. They revisited maps, retracing every bend of the valley stream mentioned in the journal. As dusk fell, they made their way back to the hidden cabin, carrying flashlights, ropes, and a backpack filled with supplies. Claire's hand brushed against Michael's arm as they approached the stream. Do you feel it too? She whispered. Like something's about to happen. Michael nodded, glancing around the shadowed forest. Yeah, like we're stepping into a story that's been waiting for us for decades. The stream glimmered under the first moonlight, silver streaks reflecting across the water. At the bend the letter had mentioned, they stopped. The journal described a stone arch, nearly invisible beneath moss and vines, and as their flashlights swept over the area, Michael gasped. There, he said, pointing. The arch. It's just like the journal said. Claire's eyes widened. It's beautiful, almost magical. They stepped carefully under the arch. On the other side, a narrow path led up the hill, hidden from view of anyone who might have wandered by. The path was lined with wildflowers, their petals glistening in the moonlight. Every step felt like walking into James' world, a secret preserved against time. At the top of the hill, they discovered a clearing with a small stone pedestal. A box rested atop it, weathered but intact. Claire knelt and ran her fingers over the carvings on the box, delicate symbols that Michael couldn't recognize. He knelt beside her. These aren't letters. They're like codes or emblems. Maybe it's his way of marking something important. Claire opened the box. Inside lay a set of old keys, each different, with intricate designs and another letter, carefully folded and tied with ribbon. Michael took the letter, unfolding it gently. To the ones who follow. You've reached the point I never thought would come. The truth you seek is not in the letters, the land, or the objects you carry. It is in the choices you make, in the courage you show. One key opens what was meant to be hidden. Another opens what was lost. Choose wisely, and you'll find more than you imagined. Claire looked up, eyes wide. He's giving us a choice. But a choice for what? Michael examined the keys. One has to fit a lock somewhere. But where? And which one? They examined the clearing. Nothing appeared locked, nothing obvious to use a key on. Michael's gaze swept the surrounding trees, and then he froze. Look, he said, pointing. Half buried in the grass was a small iron box, camouflaged by moss and dirt. This must be it. Claire knelt beside him, brushing away decades of forest floor debris. Michael tested the keys, and one clicked perfectly. The lid creaked open, revealing an assortment of objects: an old compass, a bundle of letters tied with twine, a delicate silver locket, and a folded photograph tucked underneath. Claire picked up the locket, opening it carefully. Inside was a miniature portrait, a young man and woman, holding hands, smiling in a way that seemed impossibly timeless. This is him, James. And the woman in the photo must be the same one from the cabin picture, Claire whispered. Michael carefully unfolded the letters. They told a story of love, of courage, of defiance against a family that had tried to erase them. And then another twist. One letter was addressed to Michael himself. If you're reading this, it means you have found the path I created. I left not just memories, but the means to find someone I never thought could be reunited with his family. Someone alive. Look to the town nearby, the place where our family once thrived but is now forgotten. There, you will discover what I could not leave behind. Michael's eyes met Claire's. He's not just hidden stories. He's pointing us to someone. Someone alive. Claire shivered. This just became bigger than we thought. This isn't just about James. It's about someone who's still out there, waiting for us to find them. The moonlight danced on the stream as they packed up the objects, the sense of anticipation growing with each step. Secrets that had been buried for generations were about to surface, and Michael felt the weight of history pressing on him, but also the thrill of discovery. We're not done, he said, gripping Claire's hand. Not by a long shot. James' story, it's only just beginning. And as they descended the hill, their shadows stretching across the forest, the night seemed to whisper promises of adventure, hidden truths, and reunions that could change everything. The morning sun broke over the hills as Michael and Claire packed their things, preparing for the journey to the forgotten town James had hinted at. The letters, locket, compass, and journal felt heavier now, not just physically, but with the weight of decades of secrets. This is it, Michael said, adjusting his backpack. The final piece. Whatever James wanted us to find, it's here, waiting for us. Claire nodded, eyes bright with anticipation. And it has to be someone alive. He wouldn't send us this far just for memories. The drive was long and winding, with narrow roads that twisted through valleys and forests. GPS couldn't locate the town. The instructions in James' letters were the only guidance they had. At last, they came across a faded wooden sign nearly hidden by overgrown vines. Welcome to Willow Creek. Michael slowed the car, staring at the deserted streets. Buildings stood silent, some abandoned, others surprisingly well kept, almost as if someone had quietly maintained them. Claire, it's like the town never left this place, he whispered. Claire squeezed his hand. Then let's not leave it forgotten. Let's find the person James wanted us to meet. They followed the directions in the letters, walking past old storefronts and dusty windows until they reached the far end of the town. A small bakery glowed softly from within. Michael and Claire exchanged a glance and entered. Inside, a man in his 60s arranged pastries behind the counter. His eyes widened slightly as he saw them, a flicker of recognition passing over his face. He began. Michael stepped forward, holding out the letters. James mentioned someone here. Are you related to him? The man's hands trembled as he took a step forward. James, my brother? His voice broke, disbelief and relief intertwining. I never thought anyone would find me. Claire's eyes filled with tears. You're alive. You're the one James wanted us to find. All these years. He nodded slowly, swallowing hard. I had to hide. The family, they tried to erase me. But James never forgot. He left letters, journals, clues. I didn't think anyone would follow them this far. Michael handed him the journal. He wanted us to bring you back, to reconnect, to tell your story. The man took the journal reverently, flipping through pages that captured his life in ways he had thought lost forever. I can't believe it. After all these years, someone finally knows. Claire smiled softly. You've always been part of the story, and now it can be complete. Over the next few hours, they shared memories, piecing together lost years. Letters, photographs, and keepsakes revealed a life filled with love, courage, and resilience. Every hidden twist in James' life finally made sense. You know, Michael said, looking at the man, this is more than a reunion. This is history restored. James wanted it remembered. The man smiled faintly, tears glistening. And now it will be. Because of you. Claire held Michael's hand. We did this together. And the story doesn't have to end here. Others can follow it, discover their own hidden truths. As they stepped outside, the sun dipped low behind the hills, casting long golden streaks across the town. Michael felt a deep sense of fulfillment. James' secrets, hidden for decades, had finally found their place. The forgotten town had been reunited with the family story. Before the night fully descended, Claire turned to Michael. You know, this could inspire so many people. They could follow these stories, uncover secrets in their own families. Michael smiled. Exactly. And for everyone watching, we want you to be part of it too. Sparkles, thanks for watching our story. If you enjoyed discovering James' secrets, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss another adventure. There are countless stories waiting to be uncovered, and we want you to experience them first.